Types of fever. The first one, constant fever or continuous fever. Constant fever or continuous fever is one in which the temperature varies not more than 1 degree Celsius between morning and evening, and it does not reach normal period for days or weeks. So continuous fever means temperature continuously remains above normal with daily fluctuations less than 1 degree Celsius. It is associated with typhus and viral pneumonia. Second one, remittent fever. Remittent fever is a fever characterized by variations more than 1 degree Celsius. And here the fever does not reach normal. So same like continuous fever or constant fever, the fever characterized by fluctuations that is more than 1 degree Celsius. Usually it is above 2 degrees Celsius, and here there will be fluctuations in the morning and evening. It does not reach to the normal period, normal temperature. So that is known as remittent fever. It is occurs in typhus, sepsis, tuberculosis and rheumatic fever. So remittent fever means temperature continuously remains above normal with daily fluctuations greater than 1 degree Celsius. Next one, intermittent fever. Intermittent fever, the temperature rises from normal or subnormal to high fever and back at regular intervals. The interval may vary from few hours to 3 days. Usually the temperature is high in the evening than in the morning. So intermittent fever means temperature remains above normal only for a certain period. Later it returns back to normal. So that's intermittent fever. Intermittently fever occurs. This type of fever occurs in pleuritis and sepsis. Biphasic fever. Biphasic fever means fever that breaks and returns twice a day. The graph we can see that the fever is breaks and returns to normal, that occurs twice a day. The common diseases are yellow fever, dengue, malaria, typhoid, leptospirosis. So biphasic fever means fever that breaks and returns twice a day. Next one, undulant fever. Undulant fever, temperature continuously remains above normal with daily fluctuations greater than 1 degree Celsius. Same like remittent fever, undulant fever, temperature continuously remains above normal with daily fluctuations in the morning and evening, that is more than 1 degree Celsius. It's common in brucellosis. Next one, recurrent fever. Here, relapsing fever. Relapsing fever means days of fever followed by an ephemeral period of several days and then relapse into additional days of fever, usually after 14 to 21 days. So relapsing fever means it will relapse. So here the person will have a fever period and a period of ephemeral period. Then again there will be febrile period, like that. So here day of fever followed by an ephemeral period of several days. So in this graph you can see the temperature will be normal for a period, then again there is rise of fever, and it usually after 14 to 21 days. So that is known as relapsing fever. Next fever is Pearl Epstein fever. Fever lasting 1 to 2 weeks followed by 1 to 2 weeks ephemeral period. So in recurrent fever, second one is Pearl Epstein fever. Here the person will have recurrent fever in fever for 1 to 2 weeks, then there is a period of febrile period, or there will be a febrile period for 1 to 2 weeks. Next one, periodic fever. Periodic fever that recurs over months or years associated with absence of infection or malignancy. So periodic fever, it occurs periodically and there is no that much associated with infection or malignancy. Okay, so these recurrent fever that commonly seen in pleuritis sepsis. So in recurrent fever, there are mainly three fever: relapsing fever, Pearl-Epstein fever, and periodic fever. Periodic fever occurs periodically. Pearl-Epstein fever, there will be period of fever for 1 to 2 weeks, then a period of febrile. Then relapsing fever means here there will be fever for 1 to 2 days, then again febrile period, then again fever. So it will be take 14 to 21 days. So that's regarding the recurrent fever. Next one, crisis. Crisis is a sudden return to normal temperature from a very high temperature within few hours or days. So crisis means there will be sudden return to a normal temperature from a very high temperature within few hours or days. There are two forms of crisis: true crisis and false crisis. True crisis means the temperature falls suddenly within few hours and touches normal, accompanied by marked improvement in patient condition. So in true crisis, there will be improvement in patient condition along with the decrease or fall in temperature. False crisis means a sudden fall in temperature not accompanied by improvement in general condition of patient. It may be danger signal and not a sign of improvement. So false crisis means here there will be sudden fall in temperature but there is no improvement in patient condition. So that type of crisis is known as the false crisis. Next one, lysis. Lysis means the temperature falls in a zigzag manner for 2 or 3 days or a week before reaching normal, during which time the other symptoms also gradually disappear. So lysis means there will be temperature, here the temperature falls in zigzag manner along with the decrease in other signs and symptoms and improvement of patient condition. Next one, inverse fever. Inverse fever, in this type, the highest range of temperature is recorded in the morning and lowest in the evening. This type of fever is known as the inverse fever. Highest range of temperature in the morning and lowest will be in the evening. That is known as the inverse fever. Next one, hectic fever or the swinging fever. Hectic or swinging fever means here the difference between the high and low point is very great. That type of fever is known as hectic or swinging fever. For example, when we are assessing the highest temperature is 105 degree Fahrenheit and the lowest point will be 98.6. So when we are assessing the difference from 98.6 to 105, it is very high, right? So that temperature difference will be very high in case of hectic or swinging fever. The difference between high and low temperature is very high. Next one, irregular fever. Irregular fever, the name itself shows that it's an irregular. So here there will be fever but we can't classify under any of the fever described above. That type of fever is known as the irregular fever. The fever is entirely irregular and it cannot be classified under any of the group of fever. Next one, rigor. Rigor is a sudden fever attack of shivering in which the body temperature rises rapidly to a stage of hyperpyrexia as seen in malaria. So rigor means sudden severe attack of shivering in which the body temperature rises rapidly. So the hyperpyrexia, it is classified into four forms, that is low pyrexia, moderate pyrexia, high pyrexia and hyperpyrexia. So low pyrexia means 99 to 100 degree Fahrenheit. The temperature will be in 99 to 100 degree Fahrenheit. Moderate pyrexia means the temperature range will be 100 to 103 degree Fahrenheit. High pyrexia means the temperature will be 103 to 105 degree Fahrenheit. Hyperpyrexia means the temperature above 105 degree Fahrenheit. So that's the classification of pyrexia: low pyrexia, moderate pyrexia, high pyrexia and hyperpyrexia. Hyperpyrexia means, or hyperthermia means, more than 105 degree Fahrenheit. Then other than fever, there are two more conditions, that is subnormal temperature. That means the temperature between 95 to 98 degree Fahrenheit. Then hypothermia means the temperature will be below 95 degree Fahrenheit. The temperature below 95 degree Fahrenheit or 35 degree Celsius. That is known as the hypothermia.